Hey guys, it's so nice to have you on, and we're going to be discussing this important topic of New Year, and creating a master plan for your life. Why are you here? What are you doing? And I think we probably ask those questions to ourselves sometimes. Why are we here? What are we doing? And so in this presentation, I want to do my best to address these important subjects, because I think there's a lot of people that are kind of drifting through life, maybe sometimes seemingly aimlessly, but God really does have a plan for our lives. And I think most importantly, it's a matter of surrendering those plans to Him, and He will establish our steps, as the Proverbs say. And the steps of the righteous are ordered, and He delights in their way. God wants to change our desires oftentimes. In Psalm 37:4, it says He will change our desires to make our desires more like His. In other words, delight yourself in the Lord and He'll give you the desires of your heart. So what that means sometimes is that He has to change our desires to get to where we need to be. So all those things considered, I believe that God has good things for us, His children, and it's important for us to be able to surrender. And so, all things considered, though, we can make plans and we can seek to live the best out of life. A little bit about me, I'd love to share. I love adventure. I mean, there's pictures of me in this presentation of surfing, hiking, and surfing in Hawaii, hiking in Norway. I dog sled in Alaska. I played with penguins in Antarctica, and I found Nemo in Boracay Island in the Philippines. So these are all things that I envisioned doing before I did them, and it was really, really a lot of fun for me to get to do them. Just a little glimpse. I earned my bachelor's degree from the University of Texas at Austin, and two master's degrees from Liberty University. And my first is in government. My second two are in Christian ministry as well as in organizational communication. I've worked political campaigns and worked in politics up until 2021. I was also working at a college for the last 9 years teaching speech. Launched a conservative youth nonprofit, Texas Youth Summit, in 2019, and wrote a Christian book in 2020. 2022, I ran for Congress and learned a lot from that experience. I love traveling, as I mentioned. I've been to 7 continents and over 50 states. So in this presentation about creating a master plan for your life, we're going to talk about it in a couple of facets. First, we're going to talk about it in terms of creating a personal mission statement, then creating a life plan, next creating a financial plan, then creating a health plan, then creating a bucket list. And we'll talk a little bit about each subject. First, creating a personal mission statement. So what is a mission statement? Well, it's a single sentence for why you are here, why you exist. So you probably have to put a little thought into that. Some of the elements of a good mission statement are a life that isn't just devoted to your interest or your own well-being, but also a life of service, in my opinion. And I like HEB's mission statement. There's a lot of companies and corporations that make mission statements, and I think we as individuals should do that too. HEB, I worked there for many years through high school, college, and grad school, one of my 2 jobs to afford my education, and I think it's a great place. Theirs is to improve people's lives by providing quality food, volunteering at local nonprofits, and showing up in times of need. And notice how their goal isn't just to make a dollar, but also to make a difference. Your mission should transcend your job because it's about your calling. It's much deeper than just a job. What were you put on this earth to do? And this can define your entire life. For me personally, mine is to encourage people to faith in Christ so they use their God-given talents, abilities, and resources for His glory. And I think that is a life of service, and it could look like a number of different jobs that I might do along the way. And I'm open to that. But that is what life is all about, is serving others. And I found that to be the most fulfilling thing, and doing your best to honor God. So creating a life plan is essential to being able to do that. So I really like this chart, and there's a Japanese word that I might mispronounce, but it's ikage, and that is essentially a term that means life purpose or worth and meaning in life. And I want you to write out, if you will, and if you have a piece of paper or a journal, if you're typing while you're watching this, write out what you want the next 5, 10, 15, 20, 40 years to look like. And, first, think about that in terms of your work. What do you want your work to look like? And some of the elements of that are, what can you be paid for? What are you good at? What do you love? And what does the world need? And if you find your sweet spot with that Japanese term, then you'll be in a pretty good place. There's a lot of people that don't have the perfect combination of all those things. You might be passionate about being an author, but you're not making any money writing books yet. But you are doing accounting, and you still need to wake up every day, and you need to write early before you go to work. And then you go to your work, you make a living that way, and then you over time we'll write that and finish that book, and then you can publish it, and then you're an author. And whether or not people read that book, that's another question. But books are like songs, and there's so many people that are afraid to put out their art, but you got to be able to put it out. If you really want to overcome that fear, you got to be able to put it out. So do so, and I believe it'll bless someone, and it may really impact someone's life. You may not be able to change the entire world sometimes, but you can change your world. The people that you have direct sphere of influence with, you can make an impact. Same thing if you're into theater. After you get off work, maybe go take a theater class or be in the local play, and that's a good thing. So, and maybe what you're doing right now isn't paying a whole lot. Maybe you're planning a church or starting a company, but you have to have a side job, a side hustle, to make ends meet. And that's a perfectly honorable thing to do. So do what you need to do to get to where you need to be. But try and align your personal mission that you've just written out with your life plan, so that you're always doing what you're called to do, what you're passionate about. Continuing down this effort of creating a life plan, think beyond just work. Think about your relationships. What do you want your relationships to look like with your family, with your significant other, with your wife or husband? What do you want your relationship to look like? And if you have biological children or you adopt children, what do you want your relationships to look like with your children? I think that's a wonderful thing, to be able to have family and enjoy them. Think about it in terms of your family vacations. Think about it in terms of going to church or your place of worship, or what you're doing to volunteer in your community, maybe with the food bank, or what you do as a family to help others, or just even strolling through the grocery store. Have a vision for what you want your family life to look like. Maybe how you celebrate holidays, Christmas, Easter. Those are important things to be able to do. And you know what? If you're hanging out with people that you shouldn't be hanging out with, maybe you need to reconsider, those relationships. And maybe you can't always control who you're friends with, who you spend time with, rather, if you're at work, or if they're a part of your family. But you can control how you react and how you act in situations. You can't always control how others act and behave. There's a lot more to say about relationships, and that's probably a different podcast or YouTube Live, but it's important to have good relationships. So have a vision for what you want your relationships to look like. Next, what about your finances? Think about your financial health and what you want that to look like. Write that out. What you're going to be able to do in life, the places that you're going to be able to go, the activities that you're going to be able to participate in, it will depend on whether you have financial freedom or not. Because if you do, you'll have a lot more ability to do many more things. What will your personal health look like? Think about that for a second. Do you want to lose weight? Do you want to stop smoking or drink less alcohol and soda and drink more water, get more sunshine, have better mental health, be out in nature more? Have a pet, an animal? Do you want to have more focus and clarity in your life? Do you want to have a better spiritual life? What are you going to do to cultivate these things? And what are you going to do to serve others? Are you going to volunteer at your church? Are you going to participate in a different way in your community? Maybe run for public office or help those that are. There's a lot of different ways to serve. You can do it through nonprofits and a variety of ways. What types of adventures do you want to experience in your life? Is there something that you've always been itching to do? And it doesn't have to be totally relating to your career or your calling. It could just be something completely random. I heard a pastor by the name of Mark Batterson say that he wanted to go run with the bulls in Spain. And what does that have to do with church work? Not really anything, but it's really cool that he wants to do that. And that's the idea there, is that you have a vision for your life, and I want you to take the time to write these things down in an overall plan for your life. And we're about to transition to now financial health. Financial health, that's a very broad subject as well. But there's so many layers to this, and there's so many reasons why people have financial hardships that I can't begin to go into all of them. But you can do certain things to improve your financial health, and it's about having the right mindset. And so first question is, what types of education, training, or experiences do you need to get the job or the opportunity that you want? Do you have an idea that maybe others would want to invest in? Do you have a company that you want to start? Real estate that you want to acquire? Do you have some nonprofit that's really going to be able to help a lot of people? What ideas do you have in terms of your career that can bring in income that will give you the ability to take care of your everyday monthly expenses at the base of that? And the second question is, do you set a monthly budget? Have you tried, for example, the Mint app? And I'm sure it's on Google or Android or Apple. It's definitely on Apple. I use it. And is it tied to your monthly expenses so that you can see what comes in and what comes out every month? I think that's critically important, because I've seen firsthand, if you don't know what expenses are coming in and coming out, then you might overspend in certain categories, and you have more stress. And so you also want to be able to enjoy your money at certain times, and if you have allotted a certain portion of it to be able to do something for fun, then you know exactly what you're doing. The next slide, I think, is really interesting, and you can see the diagram there of the hierarchy of financial needs, just like Maslow's laws of needs, there's a hierarchy of financial needs, and I think that's a very good graph to look at if you want to pause and check that out. But I'm just going to ask some basic questions. Do you understand how credit cards work? There's a lot of people that don't understand, unfortunately, how credit cards work. They get in a lot of debt. They don't realize they're going to have to pay a high interest rate on their credit if they don't pay their bills in time. And have you ever heard the expression house poor or $30,000 millionaire? There's a lot of people that buy things on credit and they are paying penalties for these decisions. And house poor, for example, that's outside of a credit card, but you are still buying a home on a different type of credit. You're taking out a loan from the bank to be able to afford that. And there's so many people that spend 60 to 70% of their income on a home, and they have a home, but the maintenance, the taxes, the insurance, everything that it costs to have a home, and they are what you call house poor. There's a lot of people also that are what you call $30,000 millionaires. In other words, they look like they have a lot of money, but in fact they're broke. But you wouldn't be able to tell that based on their clothes. You wouldn't be able to tell that based on their car that they drive, or maybe their social media, the way that they're behaving. But there's a really good book that I'll mention here real quick, The Millionaire Next Door. And sometimes the best millionaires are the ones that are the most unassuming, because they have something about them that is behind the scenes. They are stealth about their wealth, in other words, but they have it because they don't spend money frivolously. And I think that's a wise way to be. And here's another question for you. Do you know the difference between an asset and a liability? Your car and your home that you're using for personal use is not an asset if you're using it that way. It's only an asset if you're able to rent it out and make a profit off of that. Passive income is an important thing to be able to acquire. And so when you're not spending frivolously, when you're saving, then you can invest in different opportunities that will give you passive income. And I think real estate is a wonderful thing to be able to invest in. There's a lot of programs out there, but you can make money by having real estate and renting out apartments, multifamily or single family houses to others, and you can make income. And what a beautiful thing to be able to replace the income that you spend working with your assets that are making you money. I think mutual funds are a good thing. I think investing in a conservative plan is a good thing, and it'll grow over time. It always has. I think cryptocurrency is something that's really interesting, and you have to figure out if you're willing to make some risks, because some of these items like crypto are more volatile. So are you willing to take on the risk, or are you risk averse? Know yourself and your personality, but figure out a financial plan that works for you. And the question is how much money do you need to retire? Important question for you to assess to get to the place that you want to be. Having good financial health will mean so much to you when you want to accomplish your goals in life, in terms of your career, or in terms of travel, in terms of having children and raising a family. It's so important. This next question is perhaps the most important thing, because you cannot be good at your job oftentimes if you do not have good health. And so I want you to be very specific about your health in this moment, and think about how you would like to improve your health and write it out. My experience tells me that we know what we must do to get healthier, but it's really just a matter of us doing it. We know we don't need people telling us that we shouldn't be eating certain things or that we shouldn't be smoking. We know those things, but we choose to do them anyway. It's us getting to the place, where we are making the decision where we want change. And I am not saying by any means that you can't have a delicious bowl of Bluebell ice cream or a nice Whataburger or go down to H-E-B and get you anything from their menu. I'm not saying that. All I'm saying is simply that you should have this practice of moderation in your life, where those dessert nights are maybe once a week, but not every night. And having this idea of moderation, I think, is important. So let's think about it. How do you want your health to look? Let's create a master plan for this. Do you want to get 8 full hours of sleep a night? 8 hours of sleep is a game changer. It'll affect your mood, whether or not you have anxiety, whether you're able to have good workouts, whether you're able to be as acute when you're having conversations with your boss or your coworkers at work. It affects whether you're able to have the brightest ideas and how quick you are mentally. These are important things to think about when it comes to sleep and being able to turn it off. For example, maybe not looking at your phone late at night will be helpful to you. Having a regular time that you go to bed every night. These are things that you need to be able to do. Having a dark room, if that's what you need. Maybe some sort of sound equipment to be able, white noise, whatever, to be able to sleep. Whatever you've got to do to be able to get a full night's rest, that's important so that you can get deep sleep to be the very best version of yourself that you can be. Do you want to spend more time outside and get sunshine? I think you should start your day, you should wake up, and if you're able, get outside and get some sunshine. It's important. It's vitamin D. It'll totally recharge your batteries and help you think better and be better throughout your day. Do you want to drink more water, less soda and alcohol, stop smoking? These are important things to think about in terms of being the best version of yourself. A healthy living plan also consists of what do you want to do to lose weight and gain muscle. How would you go about doing that? Are you going to start eating cleaner? There's a food pyramid in this video, in one of the slides. You can see that. We know the foods that are healthier. Maybe you're going to make the decision to eat 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. Maybe you're going to work on your complex carbohydrates and make sure that the carbohydrates that you are eating are whole grain, whole wheat, quinoa, brown rice, for example. Maybe you're going to focus on getting, beans and clean animal protein like fish and eggs and chicken and so forth. And I'm not saying you shouldn't eat red meat. I'm a big believer in red meat. I just think it should be in moderation. But you should have red meat because there's a lot of benefits from red meat. Creatine and raising testosterone levels, all things like that. So it's a good thing. But are you going to start meal prepping? Are you going to stop eating fast food and be more thoughtful about what you're eating and putting in your body every day? Because if you're going to the gym, but you're fueling yourself with the worst fuel, then you're not going to have the best workout and you're probably not going to see the best results. So being conscientious of your macros, counting them, and what activities are you going to do to get in better shape? Are you going to hire a personal trainer? Are you going to do the research yourself to get in better shape? But the idea is, what are you going to do to reach your full potential in this area? You might be into bodybuilding or powerlifting or CrossFit, or you might be into hiking or mountain biking or just running, swimming. There's a lot of different exercises that you can do to increase your heart rate and get in better shape, but it's a matter of you making up the decision, deciding today that you're going to do it. Healthy living isn't just about the outside, but it's about the inside. What about your spiritual health? What are you going to do to grow spiritually, to grow closer to God? I'm a Christian, so, am I going to spend some time fasting this year? Am I going to spend some time meditating on the scripture and not just skimming through and reading it, but meditating on it, memorizing it? These are practices that will help you grow in your faith, going deeper in your prayer life. I think, just taking some time to be still and to be quiet and to turn off electronics and draw near to God is a wonderful thing, and to try and draw close to Him by reading His Word and applying it, most importantly, to your lives, because His Word is His instruction. It's His roadmap for spiritual living. If you're a Christian, that's what we believe. So make sure that you apply that in your life. How would you go about improving your mental health? Are you going to do some meditation every morning? Are you going to journal every day? Are you going to spend more time in nature? When I'm in nature, guys, I feel like I experience God. Getting to be in Yellowstone National Park or getting to hike in Norway this past year. It was a beautiful, beautiful experience to be there this past year. Maybe get a pet, get a dog. And dogs give you a lot of love. They're a lot of work, but they give you a lot of love. But any animal, a cat or a horse or whatever, it's like therapy for so many people, and these animals are wonderful things. And I believe God created them so that we can enjoy them and spend time with them. How are you going to treat the people that you love? Think about your relationships. What do you want that to look like? And we talked about that a little bit in the life plan, but go deeper now. How are you going to go about treating the people you love? How do you want to be treated by the people you love? Think about that. There's so many layers to this. Now, this I think is a lot of fun, but think about this in terms of the experiences that you want to have. We'll call it a bucket list. There's a movie, and the main characters are Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman, and they play two terminally ill characters who make the most of their last year of living. And they go to the most amazing places in the world, and they have wonderful experiences. And I showed this video not to people in their 60s who I think should watch it, but I actually show it to people in their 20s because I tell them, life will go by faster than you think. You could be 80 or 90 or 100 in a blink of an eye. And it's so important to make the most of this life. And some of the bucket list experiences that you want to have don't have to be related to your career. It's really about just knowing you and what you want to do. So I'm going to challenge you to write down in 6 categories what you want your bucket list to look like. You can do some research for this. Maybe you can come back to it later. But your homework assignment is to create a bucket list. And as you can see, I have an example of a bucket list here. The 6 categories are experiential, influential, athletic, financial, travel, and family. These are 6 categories where you can decide to grow and to have the most amazing experiences of your life. And so write some of these down. Experiential could be skydiving or hot air balloon riding or getting your pilot's license. Influential, writing books, being in a movie, writing a biography. Athletic, hiking a 14,000-foot mountain, running a marathon. Financial, build a vacation home, be debt-free by 55. Travel, do a Europe trip, going to Greece, going to Switzerland. These are things that you can write down. Family, celebrating your 50th wedding anniversary and paying for your grandchildren's college. What a wonderful goal to have. Think long term, the experiences that you want to have in life, and write those down. And I assure you that Writing these down are the first step, but you have to make steps every day to get towards your goals. And it's up to you to make life happen, because you're always going to have a limited amount of time. You're always going to feel like there's not enough money, or maybe not enough resources or enough connections to do what you're going to do. But you have to have some element of faith, and you have to be bold, and you have to be decisive about going after the experiences that you want in your life. So I have some resources for you. I love the movie Rudy and the Pursuit of Happiness. In both of those cases, it's about two people who have gone through adversity, and yet in spite of the adversity, they reach their full potential to accomplish the dreams that are in their heart. And there's a lot of movies that I think are good, that inspire me, from Amazing Grace to Rocky, Hoosiers, It's a Wonderful Life, Forrest Gump, Lion, Cinderella Story, The Bucket List, Unbroken. These are all amazing stories. Some of them are true, some of them are fiction, but they inspire you to be a better you. And I think it's important that you fill your mind not with negative things, but with positive things that will help you become the best version of yourself, to be the very best version of yourself. I think the same is true, especially with books. I read 20 books per year. I think it's important to read. Leaders are readers, they say, and I believe that if you read through 200 pages of a book, as long as you get one nugget from that book, then it's well worth it. That's what my dad has always said. If you get one nugget from the book, it's well worth it. And some of my favorite books that have impacted me, and actually probably where I got the idea of writing out a bucket list, was, the other person I think who may have done this, I have to go back and look at that, is Mark Batterson. He wrote a book called The Circle Maker, and he talked about, praying circles around your dreams. And it's an important thing, because you have to get over your fear and let God define your future. Another book I love is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. This book is really great, and I think it's important not to read this book through the lens of what can I do to manipulate people to get what I want out of life, but rather, as Zig Ziglar said, how can I help enough people get what they want, because in turn they will help me get what I want. If you serve other people as a byproduct, oftentimes good things come back to you. Scripture says you reap what you sow. So good things. So good things, right? There's a lot of books that have impacted me. I mentioned The Millionaire Next Door by Thomas J. Stanley. Atomic Habits. This is a book about creating good habits. Rejection Proof. It's getting over rejection and continuing forward. The Defining Decade, Why Your 20s Matter and How to Make the Most of Them Now. For young people, you have to make the most of your life while you're young. While you're never too old to dream another dream or start another great thing, venture in your life, it's important that you do the right things when you're young. And, Solomon, through the book of Ecclesiastes, he said the most important thing is to honor and fear God while you're young. It's important to have character while you're young. And so I say all that to say that make the right decisions today. Nothing is, or nobody is irredeemable. God can use anything for His good and His glory. But make the right decisions today. This is about a clinical psychologist who interviews so many different people who have deep regrets over the poor decisions they made in their 20s, and she talks about making the right decisions now. The Traveler's Gift, it's a fiction book, but it has so many good messages in it. Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's another book, just like The Millionaire Next Door, that talks about growing wealth. The Power of Positive Thinking by Norman Vincent Peale. It's important, y'all, that we have a positive mindset as opposed to a negative mindset. Anybody can have a negative mindset. Anybody can tell you why it's not possible. Anybody can tell you that the odds are stacked against you. But it takes someone with courage to be able to have faith and to think in a positive way. The Road to Character by David Brooks. I think that's a wonderful book
So many people build their resumes, but this is about building your character so that you prevent yourself, to the best of your ability, from having a fall. And a lot of times people can handle failure, but they can't handle success. And their character has not kept up with their abilities, and their abilities will take them places that their character hasn't come along with or hasn't developed to get to where they need to be. And so they have a fall, and they spend their entire lives building something, building maybe a church, building a company, building a reputation, a brand, whatever. But in a matter of seconds, minutes, but even seconds, because of a poor decision, they can see it all come crumbling down. And sometimes maybe you don't lose everything, but what good is it to gain the whole world and lose your soul? It's so important that you have the right mindset when it comes to character so that you can make the right decisions, so that you can have peace of mind. At the end of the day, that's what matters most, is looking in the mirror and being proud of who you are. You may not have everything that you want. You may not have accomplished everything that you ever wanted to do. You may have failed sometimes, but you know what? You had character. That's something that you can hang your head up high on. So guys, these are some great resources. You may be asking yourself, well, what if I fail? What if I never accomplish these things that I have set out to accomplish? And to that I say, so what? You may set out to lose 70 pounds and you only lose 30 pounds, but you know what? That's way better than where you were. You may set out to get out of debt completely, but you're only halfway there. Well, you know what? That's pretty good. Shoot for the stars, but if you only reach the moon, then you've still gone pretty far. And you know what? You can never give up. The worst thing, though, is to never have tried, because as Wayne Gretzky, the famous hockey player, said, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. You gotta keep shooting. You gotta move forward towards the goals and aspirations that God has put in your heart. And use your time diligently to serve others, to make a difference, and to make the most of this one and only life. Don't waste it. Make the most of it. So with that, guys, I want to thank you so much for this opportunity to give you a little presentation. Thanks for tuning in. And I pray this year that 2023 and beyond is the best year yet. May God bless you.